Welcome to Job Sharing and Beyond, the Future of Work podcast that goes beyond the traditional 9 to 5. I am Karen Tischler, speaker, consultant, and host of the show, where we hear from global experts every other week to discover innovative solutions and tips on how to remain a relevant employer in the future. Hello, everybody. I really look forward to sharing my guest with you today. His name is Andreas Seltmann, and he was born at Lake Constance in Germany. He studied electrical engineering and also holds degrees as a business economist and business moderator. Via product management responsibilities, he transformed himself into a sales and marketing expert. For more than a decade, as a member of the executive board, he led the marketing, customer academy, and corporate communications of Hekatron, the German unit of a large Swiss family-owned building and security company. The company has received several awards for its employer branding, including one from the Great Place to Work Institute as one of the 100 best employers in Germany. Today, the passionate father, family man, and book author works as a management consultant focused on employer branding and HR marketing. He advises successful companies on their way to become a top employer. He also builds up father networks in enterprises and is active as speaker and moderator. Welcome to the show, Andreas.
Hello, Karin. Nice to be here.
It is so nice to have you here on the show. And now we have a lot of listeners from all over the world. Could you share with them where you're calling in from and maybe a particular site or food in the area where you're living?
Of course, that would be nice. I'm calling from Germany, and especially the south of Germany, which is Freiburg, and that's close to the border of Switzerland and also close to the border of France. So we call it Dreiländereck. So 3 countries are around the area where I live. And a special food I really love, and I would climb every mountain to get it. That's called Kässpätzle. And that's a homemade pasta which is baked in the oven together with a mountain cheese and often served with salad. And that's my favorite dish. Or very special, it's Flammkuchen. Probably you know that's also like special kind of pizza. And that's made out of sour cream with onion, herbs, and bacon. So that's very special food here.
Thank you so much. And you're never going to believe it. My sons love Käsespätzle. And last night, I actually made Käsespätzle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
and now is a favorite time coming on. It's fall time.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes we make it together with the pumpkins.
Oh,
so
right.
Then that gets a special taste in it. So you have to try.
Okay, I have to try. I've never tried that one. Wow. That's awesome. Now, Andreas, I met you at a German webinar titled Father-Friendly Companies. Do they actually exist? And so could you share with our listeners a little bit about your professional background and so how it came that we both ended up at meeting at that event?
Yeah, of course. A long time ago, I did studies as an electrical engineer. So that's, like I said, really long time ago. Since the last 20 years, I worked as a marketing manager, even marketing director. But since 2 years, I'm advising companies on special cases around employer branding, personal marketing. And on that hand, I noticed that a lot of companies, they have good benefits and also they're more and more have a good culture, but also these things are very often tailored to women. And so that's why I also was on that conference, which focused more on fathers. and was great to meet you there and to get together. And now I'm on the podcast.
To me, it is so important to emphasize that, care work and in general, looking after children or elderly relatives is a task that anybody can do, regardless of gender. So I was really, really appreciative. And Volker Beisch has done an amazing job to promote fathers and father networks. And so, I was very appreciative I could be there. And the power of online events. Here I was from all the way from Canada.
Yeah, I agree, fully agree, because yes, Volker did a great job since 10 years, and even in the beginning, and then as I see so far, it's in Germany especially, the big companies they started and coming closer to these views and to these programs, but looking to the Mittelstand, with all the small and medium-sized companies, there are a lot of potentials what they can really do with small things and easy things to do. It's more a kind of hard hand and attitude and mindset doing so.
And Andreas, you're just like, that was a perfect segue to my next question, because on your LinkedIn profile, it says hand, heart, and attitude make us leaders and dads, in brackets, rather than the budgets. And I just loved that saying. So could you, explain a little bit more in details what you mean by that?
What I learned so far, and there I think there are great parallels in spending time with the kids, and also in leading employees and having really a leader position in companies, because it's also how you can make people's and also children follow you, and it's always, I think, about getting really paying attention and really have a true relation with each other, and probably more on later teenage level to have really, how to say, eye level. And it's not above and down. It's really we have different function in our companies, and it's not different functions in being man and women, or being employee and boss. It's eye level, I say, and this is what I've learned with my children, and also being a leader 25 years in business. And then, like I said, it's not about first. It's about the attitude and your mindset, and then of course you have to give them a focus, and then you came to budget. But that's the third step.
I really appreciate that. That's such an important way of looking at it, and I feel more and more around the world, the focus is like, with the whole pandemic, it's like, looking at it from a coaching perspective, treating people as human beings, and how can we ensure that they are feeling well, because of all the things that literally on a daily basis can happen, like whether the school all of a sudden has to be back online, or some other situation that is unexpected. I feel there have been so many changes, and so to your point, focusing on the individual is just so critical.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and in business context, of course, and that's also the same like in the family. Of course, you have to set a framework.
Sure.
And it's not a playground the whole day long. And it's also in business. There are also, of course, a business context and a business frame you have to make up clear to your people. But then, first, look to the person, and not only speed up agendas and cross up all the points. First, have a small look at the people and ask how they believe, how they feel, and then do a little bit socializing, because in this 2D flat screen world, that's not happened. You have to plan for that, and you have to think about it, because in the real world, that happens automatically, but not in the world we live at the moment.
Yeah, I so agree. Now, you have written a book in German called Neusohnland, which means New Zealand. But what you did is the C you crossed out and wrote instead son or sohn. And so I am so, curious to learn more about the content of the book and why you wrote it. Could you share this with our listeners?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a kind of playing with words, and it's done with New Zealand and with sun, because the subtitle is how 30 Days Off became our best father and son time ever. And that shows the direction which are the books is about. And the story behind is when my son was 70 years old, he failed at his secondary on the next level in school. And I, as a father, on some specific point, I was really clear that he will make his way. But he will make his way in other kind. I probably thought he would go this way. So as I get this safe feeling back, so to say, I made him a kind of like to say I asked him if he liked to spend time with his old father. He's 17, I was close to 50. So I said, take a few days time and come back to me if you like that. And he came back and said, hey, Dad, I think it's a very special time we could probably spend together. Let's do so. And then we started planning, and we have just only 30 days in total left, because then his training session started to get an apprenticeship then later on that year. So we decided we have never done overseas trip, only he and me. So we ended up really traveling 30 days throughout New Zealand on a, so to say, dad and son camper road trip. And the fantastic thing was really we have that lots of time, just you and me, 24 hours a day. And he was really interested in some things which he was not before. So give you an example, he asked me, was my mother your first girlfriend? Was your first job your dream job you really loved? Or your grandpa, which he not known, he was in the Second World War. Can you tell me something which you probably know? And I came to the point, well, that's so interesting stories, which and also I learned a lot of things from him, which we can give each other, which every father can give his son, and get things back, that I started to make out of my daily diary notice, more to the point that I'd like to write a book to give other fathers the encourage and some push to probably spending time. It has to be not the other side of the world, but spending time with his son or daughter, with a person he loves.
That is so interesting. And I'm a big fan on transferable skills from many different parts of one's life that could be transferred into, say, a business setting, or also that one learns from a particular experience for oneself. So I'm curious, if you had to share with our listeners, like, could you maybe name 3 transferable skills from your experience that you then could use as a leader in your business?
There are many situations. One situation was, and I was happy that this happens at, I think it was the second day we were traveling. And probably sometimes also the mode which our parents in, which are taking care about children, looking about the dangerous things, trying to keep this apart. And we were traveling, and it gets closer and closer, and it's getting night. And it gets really, at that time we were traveling at 6 o'clock, it was really black darkness. And I came to this mode, oh, we have to come to the next safe campground. And of course, New Zealand is very safe. But I was in that mode. I have to protect my boy. And of course, this boy was 17, as it's very close to an adult. He was an adult. But I was in that protection mode. And I was in that hurry that I missed the nice scenery with the sun down around us. And then suddenly my son stopped me and said, "Hey, Dad, let us stay here." I said, no, that's too unsafe. And he said, no, Dad, let us please, let us stay here. And as he pointed out the second time, I said, oh, what's happened at the moment? I was in that leader, saver, protector mode. And I said, okay, if I like to get out of these days, a big benefit, it only works on eye-to-eye level. So I agreed and said, okay, what's your suggestion? And he said, well, look at there. I think that's a good place around the lake, close to the lake. And it's very flat. I think we can park there. And of course, it was one of the greatest stay and night we got. And you asked about the transfer in business. I think it's the same. Not playing all the time the pacemaker. Of course, you have functions, and you have probably having other role, responsibilities, and all these things. But ask about the opinion of your team. Ask about suggestions and give them a frame that are open, that they come up with their own ideas, and not take it down. Start to let them grow with their ideas. And that was one thing I learned so far. Looking and listen.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes like micromanaging will, miss on other ideas, innovative suggestions. And what I also really liked what you were saying before is, you had sort of maybe a thought of a pathway where you thought your son was going, but at the end of the day, it's his life, and transferring it to somebody on your team. Like, I feel the best thing is to, coach or lead them and provide them with a scaffolding so that they can go and grow in the area in the ways that is their path. But it is sometimes probably on both in the leadership side as well as a parent not so easy to quote unquote let go and let them experience and learn through, whether it is mistakes or just maybe not the most optimal experiences, to just learn from that.
Yeah, I also agree. And I think probably it always takes also a little bit, probably I like to say distance. Because when you're in such kind of hurry or call it tunnel or whatever, it takes also some points where you have a small rest and find an overview and a mode which you can look on a different angle on your team or your family, and because if you're always in a hurry, you will not see these competences or these benefits which are in your team. So this is also time to rest or some small breaks.
Thank you so much for sharing these great examples, Andreas. Now, as we are talking about transferable skills, in your book, you also shared the opposite direction, where you are taking business skills and applying them to your family life. And I would love you to share this with our listeners. And it's interesting that in the US, there is the organization Fathering Together that are using a similar principle. And the previous episode, my guest was Michelle Travis, and she is on the board of Fathering Together. So I feel it's a small world.
On some stage, I came specially, with a son on a point where I said, well, it's difficult, and you know that's the age around 15 up to whatever 17, 18, and I felt really that time that if I had some fights with my son inside the house, the room was too tiny, too small, too eng. And what I then find out, I said, well, of course, then come on, let us give 30 minutes, and we do a small walk. So I said, and I called it then Gehgespräche, and of course it's a walk to talk.
Yeah.
So to say, and this was in that a little bit difficult times. A really great tool because you're outside, you have fresh air, you can vary with distance, you can vary with your speed. You had to catch up if you and your son are 2 meters away, or are you on eye level? Is it now silent, or is he hurry up in talking? And that was very often a tool, and this came out of my business, which I used then in doing all the yearly talks with my employee that way, which really worked in the family area and at home.
The more with the pandemic, people or leaders within organizations are realizing that, as a previous podcast guest said to me, it's the people are the scarcity. It's like the financial support is, or capital is there, but it's really how can you retain and attract people. And so more and more focusing on them on a personal basis, on a coaching, becoming more and more a coach. And so all of these tools that you just described, that's just awesome, because it works both in the business and in the home setting.
Yep, of course. And I think the thing what I learned is just try out, and not to do it probably exactly 1000% copy paste, but think a little bit and take a minute of time, and then transfer it into the other field and the other area. And I think a lot of these tools will work.
Yeah. So now, there is the State of the World's Fathers report. And in the most recent edition, it said that they couldn't find anything on a nationwide basis like that was similar for boys to focus more on caring and educational type careers as it is currently for the STEM focus for young girls. And so in my mind, we've talked about Volker, who is doing an amazing job on a basis for on a company basis for fathers. Have you encountered anything on a sort of quote unquote younger basis, how boys or maybe young male adults are being taught more how to care and how to focus on soft skills?
Yep. One thing before I come back to the question.
Yes.
I personally think that we as parents can do also a good job on that place. Uh, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think you can try, and not even try. You can do it inside your family, that your children see. It's not always um, mom doing all the care work, which is doing the dishes, which is who is cooking. So this is a thing we all can do in our personal home surrounding. That also dads, of course, they can do up the dishes, they can cook, they can tell the bedtime stories, they can spend understanding and comfort. So
Yes.
that's, I think, one side of the medal, and which is also really important, because then the children, it's getting more and more normal from the home playground, so to say. And of course, then your question, I saw, but I think it's a small flower which is just starting to grow. So in German, probably there are the girls' days,
Hmm. Yes.
which are getting. The first idea was getting girls closer to all these technical jobs and all these things. But since a few years, there are also boys' days. So that's, I think it's not really common, but it's a really good initiative, which started nationwide as an action day,
Hmm.
that have the really the focus to give boys insights of, how to say, gender independent professions, jobs, and apprenticeships. And they can get a few days or weeks which they can just step in one of these jobs, and or at least these days often the start. So that's, I think, a very good thing, that they are, yeah, so to say, loud, and make it transparent, that it's not a gender thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing. What's your profession? What's your benefit? What's your skills? And think about, look at here. There are a lot of things what you can do with your skills. But I think it's like I said, it's a small flower starting to grow, but a really great initiative.
Feel you're absolutely right. Starting in the home, and yeah, I happen to have two boys, and they, as well as my husband, are better cooks than I am. So I'm lucky in that way. Yes. So now, like, if we have HR leaders listening to us, or a business leader, and what would you recommend to them if they wanted to maybe um, encourage more fathers or fathers to be in their respective organizations to maybe get together and talk about maybe potential challenges, or just to kind of, have a way to communicate and to encourage maybe more care work also being done by male employees? What would you say could be some first steps?
Well, I think it's always good to that people with the same ambition are speak to each other,
Mhm.
or that they starting to meet. And as my first thing probably is to say, find like-minded people inside or outside your company, and talk about the challenges and the possible solutions. So, that probably means start a small network, and maybe you will see that there are very good things still running in other departments of your company, or outside, which you can probably hook on, and you can probably copy it, or bring it to your boss and say, well, I have an idea. But start an exchange, and start to look about people which have the same ambition, or the same problem, and then of course make suggestions to your boss, and try to start to change something. That's probably one of the first thing. And I think if you come closer, you will see also other opportunities which are in, and yeah, it is also getting probably richer of meeting other people's for your life if you do so.
That sounds really, really good. Now, is there anything you would like to tell our listeners today that we haven't touched upon?
Well, I think we have a lot of important thing touched. So I think there's nothing left. Probably one thing, and that's more a topic. It's probably more a hard personal thing by heart, which I think we really have to spend time with our children, because we have to guide them on a special way into their adulthood. And they need roots and wings. And I think they probably need different roles of parents in different ages where they are. And sometimes we have to be mentors, advisors, supporters, and even more. But they need present parents. And they can do a lot of themselves, but not everything alone.
And I so agree, like, having teenagers myself. Yeah, it's like, when starts with the little baby and thinks one, is responsible 24/7. And when they get older, maybe they need less support. But as you said, it is a different type of support. And and I feel also as a parent, one grows with it and realizes, and as you had said earlier, I feel it works both for the business as well as parenting. One can just test something, and sometimes it might not work as well. Well, then one needs to adjust it. And I think, and one then can use something one had tried in one area and transfer it to the other.
Yeah, that's true. It also works with employees. Give them roots and wings. Let them fly, but also make clear that they're really welcome here, and make them feel like they're really an important part of the company. That are the roots part. And then you get I had a very, very great mentor in business, and he did a sentence which I really remember very often. He said, if you turn the head of the people into sunshine, you will get 150%.
Oh.
And that was a sentence which came every one or the other day into my mind, and that's really, really it is the way he said.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Now,
You're welcome.
Andreas, how can people find you on social media?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and also probably we can post it in the podcast notes. And normally with my first and second name. The only difference is really Instagram, where I started closer to my book I wrote, because that you will find me on special for dads with a written 4 number in between, but normally with first name and second name. And have a look out a German guy with a wise beard, and you will find me on all the social media channels.
Thank you so much, Andreas. And yes, I will be sure to put all of the links into the show notes.
Great, Karin.
It was so nice talking to you today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
It was a pleasure and honor to me to be in your wonderful, wonderful podcast. Thank you, Karin.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you gained valuable insights and new ideas. To keep listening to future episodes, please head over to iTunes or your favorite player and subscribe and give it a rating. We would very much appreciate a review and for you to share it on social media, so more people can start innovating in how they offer employment. Until the next time, goodbye!